Hi, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, rather, if you're joining us from the West Coast of the United States. I'm Reed Perryman, RCN Technologies. We are so glad you're with us today to talk about RCN's 5G Network Operations Center and how we can really support customers to get the most out of their wireless WAN circuits. We got a great show for you today, and with me here is my co-host, Jason. Would you like to introduce yourself?
So I'm Jason Pipes. I'm the NOC manager here at RCN Technologies, and it's my team who handles monitoring and responding and supporting issues for our customers. So excited to be here.
Yeah, so don't let Jason understate himself. See, I'm the dumb sales guy that leads the sales team, but Jason is the brains behind our Network Operations Center team. So he really is, in a lot of ways, the keystone, the foundation, developed a lot of the goodness that we're offering customers today to optimize that wireless WAN. So we've got a good show for you here today. Runtime, we're hoping anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes. Obviously, there was coffee included, so be on the lookout for follow-ups on how to capture that. See a lot of great messages flooding into the chat. So don't be afraid to ask questions there in the chat. We'll try to earmark those and take on those as we go. Also be cognizant that we've got some polls today, a couple polls during our presentation. You should get a prompt when we activate a poll, and our marketing team really values your input there. So participation is appreciated. But with that being said, let's dive into things. So again, host Reed Perryman, Director of Sales here at RCN. Jason Pipes, our manager of our Network Operation Center. And a little bit to kick off about RCN. Who is RCN? Many of you today on the webinar might have never heard of RCN Technologies before, but let's put it this way. What's our core expertise? It's this: 5G and LTE enablement. But what does that mean for you as a partner or for a customer? That simply means that we provide positive business results to customers and partners by offering expert level 5G and LTE guidance, solutions, and services. And we often go beyond the scope of wireline, right? Wherever that wireline can't reach in your network environment, or whether the build out cost is too high, whether it's unreliable, that's where we shine, right? With our wireless WAN solutions. And of course, Jason and his NOC team, they make sure that those wireless WAN solutions are running up to par and beyond that every second of the day, sometimes 24/7, depending on the offering you go on to. Coming into the agenda here, we're going to cover 4 key topics, really 3 with a Q&A there at the end. By all means, flood the chat with questions. We'll get to those by the Q&A session. But first and foremost, we're going to talk about the common challenges that RCN is solving for customers with the augmented support of our Network Operations Center team. We're going to talk about real-world use cases for wireless WAN circuits, wireless WAN connectivity, and how NOC can come in and not only solve for that pain, but optimize that solution and the ROI in that environment. Lastly, we're going to talk about RCN's 5G NOC service. What is it? What does it comprise of? What are the value adds? What are the features? What is the just experience that you get from that? Lastly, there's going to be some free resources, including a handout all about our 5G NOC and a Q&A. So last thing, stay tuned there at the end. You can take a call to action, go to a microsite for this webinar, and you can get a meeting with one of our sales reps by submitting a form on that microsite. So without further ado, let's dive into things. The first part of our agenda here, always forget about this. Answer in the chat here, not a live poll, but humor us. What industry do you work with? We're very interested to know who our audience is today.
I think I'm going to like this more than live poll because it gives us a really good perspective on who we're seeing. So
absolutely. So we're just looking for people. Flood the chat. Tech industry. We've got somebody from Cox Enterprises, somebody in the hospitality vertical, the health, the sheriff's office, pipeline, energy, tech, oil and gas, healthcare, security, telecom, railway, IT, I mean, aviation. I think we've just got such a broad spectrum. Guys, can't tell you how excited, again, we are that you're here with us today, right, Jason? It's very humbling.
It is. And what I see here is tons of fun opportunities to take our product and make it work for so many different industries and so many different environments.
Absolutely. There's not a single industry hitting that chat right now that wireless WAN and our network operations center doesn't have a fit in. So I'm excited to dive into it today. So appreciate you all putting your industry there in the chat. It really helps us right size our audience. So hopefully you're going to get some value out of this today. And I'll say, whether you're with private industry, whether you're with government industry, RCN is friends of and supports both segments there, no matter what your vertical is. And there is something for you here. And we're going to talk about some examples on both the public and private side of the board. So let's talk about some of the common challenges that we're solving for customers out there, not only with wireless WAN, but with the augmentation of our network operations center. So we've got a few common profiles that we'd like to talk about that the NOC really provides great value for. And the first one there is going to be businesses with no IT support, right? So this could be Susie's Flower Shop, who is the owner, the operator, the main frontline technician for all the technology. I mean, she's firing off on all cylinders, wearing all hats. She doesn't have IT support. It's just her and maybe an employee that knows a thing or two about computers. But Jason, what would you say about these types of customers?
It's interesting. There are a lot of businesses out there without a dedicated IT team. And you're dealing with people who it was always a hobby for them, or you're dealing with people who they have quite a bit of experience, but they're very focused in where they're at. They're very focused on what they're doing. Either they don't have the time, or they don't have the knowledge, or they don't have the background. What we're going to offer them through this is just a chance to sort of, as you can see those options on there, the approachability of it, the reduced time, those kinds of things. We're offering them a chance to take care of those circuits for them, specifically mitigating downtime from loss of internet. You know, your primary circuit drops, and we've got an option here that fails you over to a system that works and works well. We're able to sort of manage and identify whether or not there's an issue with that primary circuit that requires a call out versus, hey, this is just, a temporary outage kind of thing.
Right.
Like, we provide them the capacity to help with all that. And if you move over to just a fixed wireless perspective, that's a pretty amazing thing, because that's inherent with its own redundancy in this situation.
Right.
So
I think the number one thing to hear here, audience, is that Jason and his network operations center team, specifically for wireless devices. So we approach Susie, and Susie runs off a Comcast wireline internet source, right? But Comcast fails. Guess what? It's Valentine's Day, her number one revenue producing day during the entire year. And we can provide a Cradlepoint device, a wireless WAN device that monitors her Comcast network and keeps her internet up and going. Same Cradlepoint device could be the primary circuit as well, right? Here's the thing with Susie. Her time is best spent on that Valentine's Day doing what she does best. Out there on the floor, rubbing shoulders with customers, making floral arrangements, telling your sweaty palmed husband what arrangement to get to make you happy, all those things, running her business, right? She needs the security, comfort, and peace of mind that this piece of technology is going to keep her connected and transacting and supporting customers, protecting her customer service. And if it breaks, she has no idea what to do with it, right? She's not a trained technician. That's what the NOC is for.
So then my team steps in, contacts Susie, tells her what's going on, says, hey, here's the resolution we're working on. Here's what we're doing for you. We want to make sure that you're back online, back transacting business as quickly as possible. And then at the same time, maybe there's something that she needs done on her system. Maybe she wants to switch carriers. Maybe she's trying to do something in that nature. My team can facilitate all those changes for her. So, or maybe she's just upgrading to a newer, better device. My team can facilitate that, because that's what they're there for, is to make sure that this circuit doesn't create a downtime for her or a missed opportunity for business for her and her side, or in her staff. So
yeah, it keeps her squarely within what she does best for her business, right? And that's running it. And last thing, sometimes for the small business owner, no IT team, new technology can be scary because you don't know how to support. So our team is there to be the counselor, the consultant, the deployment arm and the support arm as well. So you remove that sweaty palm feeling that comes with deploying new technology that you might be a little apprehensive about. But businesses with no IT support, that's where RCN comes in. This is where our NOC comes in and creates a lot of value, security, approachability, and peace of mind. So let's move on to the second target customer, or the common customer that we run out in the market to out there. So businesses or governments with lean IT staff. So those that have people that are allocated, have people that are trained, but frankly, their business might be swelling, but their IT is department in terms of personnel is not swelling or growing as fast as that business is. So Jason, where do you see our NOC shine here?
I would say this is actually probably the biggest segment of customers that we deal with,
Mm-hmm.
for a couple of reasons. You already have your staff. You've already budgeted your staff. You're already from a financial perspective invested in the IT team you have. When you take and you bring on cellular technology as a backup, it brings a lot to the table. It gives you redundancy to your circuit. It gives you a way to manage and mitigate your costs. It gives you a ton of things. But what you then have to do is identify how that works within your existing system. Mm-hmm. So my team coming on board adds an area of expertise without adding additional budgetary responsibilities for human resources and for things like that. So actually my team is able to mitigate that for lean IT staff, because we're able to handle that without having to create new processes and develop new resources and those kinds of things. So absolutely, I think this is probably where we see a large portion of the individuals we deal with on a daily basis.
Absolutely. So typically, audience, where someone is going to go and deploy a wireless WAN circuit, again, that's our specialty, that's the core of what we do, is a place where the wireline is failing them by being unreliable. So it breaks all the time, it's down all the time, it's unavailable. So that fiber trench out build out cost is exponential. We've seen $100,000 fiber build out costs out there before. It's just generally unavailable, right? They can't get a wireline out there. So we're coming in and we want to make sure that this technology that this lean IT staff is not an expert in doesn't become a cost center to them. We want to help give them a traditional wireline experience where they get those support SLAs, and it's really something that is peace of mind for them.
I would like to say not a traditional wireline
experience.
Exceed the traditional wireline.
Let's do it. Love it.
Because what we're going to be able to do from our team is monitor, provide updates, and provide responses in a way that traditional wireline circuits aren't currently doing for their customers. When you look at things from the wireline perspective of things, their focus is maintaining their circuits. When you move over to a wireless WAN solution and you as the customer are saying, hey, this is what I want for connectivity for my business, to be able to manage costs, to be able to maintain uptime. Now you are saying, how can I manage that and make sure that I'm looking out for my best interest? And that's what we do as a service. That's what we offer as a group. So it's not just the same wireline experience. It exceeds that experience in that you're bringing our services in to look out for your connectivity specifically, not manage a network outage from the carrier perspective.
And I want to make a comment here too. I feel like fear that we're simplifying wireless WAN circuit, right? That doesn't imply that the modem itself is a valid networking endpoint. Just like if you have a Cisco switch or a Palo Alto firewall or something that's even a little bit more consumer grade there in your network. So typically we're dealing, and the engine for this wireless WAN circuit is a cradle point more often than not. And that's a full-on enterprise router. Right? It's got all kinds of security capabilities, routing capabilities, switching capabilities. So again, we don't want to create a cost center where the customer is just looking for a currency. We want to be able to augment and take that cost center burden of support, burden of education, mastery of that device off of them so they can focus on the projects that matter within their business.
So I'd like to stop actually, because I think this is a fantastic question from Anthony here. Once the primary is deemed down, how long does your device take to fail over? And is it truly an automated experience where the transition is fairly seamless? It is actually an automated experience. It is actually a fairly instantaneous failover. And even the fail back is instantaneous. It's very nominal downtime. And the value my team brings to that is that we're monitoring those downtimes. We're looking at those downtimes. We're looking at that fail rate and everything else that's going on. And we're going to be able to say, not just, hey, you did fail over at this time period, but we're noticing a pattern of failovers at this time period, or we're noticing that you're having this issue fairly consistently. And we want to be able to ensure that we're able to adapt to your environment and you're able to adapt to your environment to sort of provide a better option for you in the long term.
So. I think one thing that's really great to hear as well, specifically with Cradlepoint and a lot of other LTE or 5G endpoints out there on the market, but Cradlepoint specifically is that they've got a lot of great SD-WAN flavoring under the hood. It's their NetCloud operating system. And so they're going to sit there and they have a feature called Smart WAN Selection. With that package, you're going to have a profile that goes, okay, fiber connections, WAN 1, it's going to sit there and monitor that fiber connection for an outage, checking in with it for configurable intervals of like 5 seconds to every minute to every 5 minutes. When it senses downtime, it goes, all right, time to shine. There I go with my T-Mobile or my Verizon or my AT&T or my US Cellular connectivity. And it keeps, basically that WAN 2 is activated for your local network.
Yes. And beyond that, depending on how critical the nature of your business is, right? Like you can have your wire line circuit coming in there, sure. But you can also have on most of the devices that we provide, that we support, that we've assisted with, multiple carriers on the same device. So not only do you have a redundancy, but, and maybe we've all experienced this, having been from rural parts of the state, somebody cuts a fiber line and it doesn't just take down your provider, it also takes down a carrier tower, or it takes down something. Well, now we've got that other circuit on that device as well. Right. So when you're in an environment where it's critical that you maintain that connectivity, you actually have a device there that not only provides you a single redundancy, but also provides you further redundancy beyond that. So,
absolutely. So some endpoints with 2 wireless WAN circuits with 1 engine, right? 1 modem, 1 router, if you will. So you're hearing there's a lot of gears you can turn and levers you can pull to dial in the experience for your business, right? To make it more seamless, to make it work and interop with your LAN architecture, your architecture back at HQ, so on and so forth. Again, the NOC helps you dial that in. It's not a cost center for you because you've got these guys supporting you and making sure that we optimize the deployment for your environment, your architecture. So a lot of great conversation here. So another customer we encounter out there in the market, typically in the enterprise space or the larger government space, business with a mature IT staff. That means their network engineering group is very mature, very tenured. Their IT help desk might be mature, very tenured. They have a technology-rich platform in terms of personnel. So, Jason, where do you see our NOC shining with the services and products we provide here with these folks?
We deal with some very good IT teams. We deal with some IT teams at some companies that they've really completed sort of this wide range of IT services really well throughout the time that they've been in business and throughout the time that they've been working. And that's fantastic. It's a really good thing to have, but they're focused. They're narrow. They've got these sort of like zoned in ideas and capabilities and things of that nature. And the great thing about what we do is that when you have a mature IT staff, when you have a enterprise level business, or you've got a large business and you've sort of not budgeted to add on new staff, but you've built your entire industry and your entire perspective around working in a very specific and a very set way. It's not real easy to turn that train. It's not real easy to redirect that. And so what we do is we provide the ability to adapt. We provide the ability to be flexible in an environment where the world is constantly changing, and your business plan or your business model isn't going to be able to adapt as quickly as you would like to. And so rather than having to build out brand new infrastructure and build out brand new operational units and everything else, we're giving you that ability to adapt and adopt new technology without having to completely rework your entire dynamics as far as your IT organization goes. So
also not overtaxed, right? We talked about project based earlier. We want to keep our mature IT staff's project based on innovating the technology stack at that business that is ultimately, right, that technology stack drives the revenue for that business, because almost all transactions happen digitally somewhere on your POS system or otherwise. So we don't want to create that cost center. We want lean or mature IT teams to be project focused, innovation focused. And so if we're adding a wireless currency when they're used to traditional wireline WAN currency, you're saying we don't want them to have to spend all this time rethinking about how they design and develop and add lines to their network, right, for internet connectivity. We want to make sure that it's as hands-off as possible for them and that it's secure and comfortable as possible for them.
Absolutely. It's our goal to manage the response for them, to manage essentially to manage the connection, to manage the experience for them. As it is right now, again, going back to the idea that like we're working off of wireline circuits and we're working off of sort of this established expectation. There's this misnomer that people sometimes have that wireless circuits are not as stable or not as manageable. And actually there's a greater level of that manageability, but it's like our team is able to do that without you having to pivot your resources to make it happen. So
yeah. So, and I think that's a good segue into our
I got you, boss.
Next slide here. I think what's happening, I might have some latency on mine. I don't quite know if anyone can see the slides here, but
so we're on to real world use cases.
Well, one comment really quick. If you could go back really quick, Jason, I think it's sharing on my screen. So apologies, team, if we're having technical difficulties. But we really want to talk very quickly about this idea out there. You said it best earlier that wireless WAN is unstable, that it is not viable as a primary internet connectivity circuit at your place of business or one of your branch locations. There's an idea that it's just suited for backup, not primary, that it's really an accessory, not a necessity. And what I think is with the carriers and the 5G networks that they are rolling out, we're starting to see wireless speeds that are rivaling traditional wireline connectivity. It's not uncommon to go out there on a carrier's mid-band or C-band 5G offering and start seeing 100 down, 200 down, 300 down, of course, a fraction of the up, but very viable throughputs that are very stable throughout the day, stable throughout the month, throughout the year, and are really less intrusive or disruptive to spin up in terms of getting them into place. You don't have these massive fiber trench out or build out costs. You don't have these project management construction timelines, and you don't have the liability of construction, road construction or otherwise, cutting that conduit and taking your wire line down for a spill. So in a lot of ways, you're getting a true wireless circuit. And that's what I would challenge our audience here to think about today, is that it's not an accessory, it's quickly becoming a viable WAN source. And for those that are used to a traditional wireline WAN experience and the ecosystem that comes behind it, meaning the SLAs you have per your contract, the truck roll technicians you have per your contract, all those good things in terms of support. Jason said it earlier, you can get that with a wireless WAN circuit. It's completely viable. And with our NOC, you are getting that ecosystem and you're exceeding what the wireline often provides you in terms of real-time actionable intelligence and support.
Not only that, but you're also getting options, right? Like to have a NOC, but to have that NOC be supporting essentially the connection that you choose, not the connection that's available to you. There are parts of this country and parts of this world where you really only have one choice when it comes to a wireline provider, or even if you have 2 or 3 choices, they're still all using the exact same fiber network, or they're all using the exact same backbone. We're giving you the ability to really have that option to have it be what you need it to be, to sort of meet your needs and meet your expectations. We're literally in an environment now when it comes to connectivity where it is the consumer's choice what they get out of this. And we're wanting to offer them the best choice possible in this. So
So let's go into real world use cases right now. If you could click us through here, Jason. A couple of use cases that we want to talk about here, real world where customers in certain verticals or private versus public spaces are engaging and using wireless WAN solutions today with the backing of our NOC. First and foremost, let's take a simple retail environment. The Susie's Flower Shop example I used earlier is a pretty straightforward, simple retail environment. She sells flowers. You come in, you transact up at the POS counter. She's using some kind of POS terminal, whether that's Stripe or Toast or all the good stuff they have these days. Point is, that's got to be connected for transactions to occur. Credit card. We can also take your traditional quick service restaurant like a McDonald's, right? If they're not connected, they can't take your order. You have to pay cash only. And who carries cash nowadays? I don't. Certainly don't carry cash nowadays. So
yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
So I was going to say a great example of this is it's not just on the front end. It's not just the point of sale. It's not just if you're running video or if you're running music or anything like that, but it's also sometimes the things that people don't think about. If you're running updates to your system in the middle of the night, whenever customers aren't there, or if you're on the weekends and you've got security feeds or things like that, it's no less relevant when those go down than it is during your operating hours. Is it going to impact that customer in that moment? No, but it could very well impact the health of your business to lose those moments. And so nobody wants to be there in the middle of the night to make sure that the update goes through. Nobody wants to have to worry about whether or not they're going to get those alerts if something happens. And so being able to get those alerts, being able to get those notifications, being able to have somebody who's saying, hey, we're looking into your failover situation and we're responding at this time is going to be critical to helping those businesses stay profitable, even when they're not open.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, again, in the real retail or restaurant environment, right, getting that failover circuit's what we call it, that wireless backup to your primary wireline internet. You need to keep connected to engage with your customers, to keep your systems up and operational, to ultimately transact with your customers, which is that facilitation point to deliver your product to them. So that's why it's so important. So we provide through our NOC that proactive monitoring support 24/7 to Jason's point. In the middle of the night, you need that mission critical update on your POS for it to operate tomorrow at 8 a.m. We're watching and facilitating that failover event, right? So no matter what happens, you've got secure connectivity, you've got that support mechanism. And if your wireless failover circuit goes down for any reason, our team's working tirelessly to make sure that that endpoint goes back up and is functioning. Another use case we see pretty often, more on the public side of the house, we actually partner with a lot of election boards across the United States. We've got a few large notable customers that are using Cradlepoint wireless WAN endpoints, specifically their R1900 rugged series. They're using them in these kind of crash case pop-up network kits, right, with a battery, and they're using them to connect poll books there at the precinct. And the challenges that they've had many times are you have a very lean IT staff dedicated to elections, one of the most important democratic processes that we have. You've got these people that are always running around with their hair on fire because they're outmanned, outgunned. They've got 20 plus precincts. On the larger side, they've got 400 plus precincts, and they've got to manage not only the connectivity at those precincts, they've got to manage the poll books at those precincts, they've got to manage laptops, cameras, everything. And so they're outmanned and outgunned, right? Our team comes in, our NOC team augments their support, helps make sure their wireless WAN connectivity at each precinct is optimized. You stay connected, it runs smooth to facilitate that democratic process. But also, we're offering some good currencies with our solution where you can get down into your end client. So that tablet poll book, its user interface, and actually do local troubleshooting without ever doing a truck roll, all the way down to in those schools and churches and rec centers, government buildings. There's a lot of basically radio frequency interference because they're typically built to withstand strong storms, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes. Rebars in the wall, that scrambles a cell signal. But we and our NOC team can help lean IT election teams go out there and optimize the placement of our solution with some real-time cellular health analytics within that precinct. Literally, volunteers carrying the solution around in real time, and we're seeing how the throughput is changing in real time and going, hey, whoa, there, put it there, right? A lot of operational efficiency our NOC has provided lean election teams on the public space.
Yeah. If so, anybody who's gone and voted in an election in the last few years understands that you got long lines, you've got volunteers who work in some locations, you've got limited staff, and nowhere is that more limited than when it comes to the IT, the staff themselves. And when you can provide a solution like this, you have to be able to provide a way to monitor what's going on within that system. And you have to be able to provide a way to look for intrusion attempts or intrusion detection on those devices. You have to provide a way of being able to say, hey, you've lost your cellular circuit here. We're going to work with you to restore this in a timely manner. We can't have certain amounts of time without updates on this device. And that's what our team is going to be there to provide for these elections and these P&K instances, is we're going to be able to provide you a way to ensure that you're maintaining that connectivity throughout the entire election process, and that if there is a need to relocate to get better signal. I think Don here's question, and I hope I'm understanding correctly. He says, is there a way to know who you are using in an area to offer diverse connection? Say Verizon goes down and you're using Verizon for the cradle point. Well, we have that option for that secondary SIM on every device that we're putting out there in these P&Ks. If somebody is dropping out on that Verizon SIM and they've got that secondary, we're going to be able to ensure that it is failing over to that secondary SIM card and it's able to manage that connection without any sort of loss of downtime. And while we can set it up to automatically configure that, we're going to then also be able to go in and monitor that network connection on it and say, hey, are we actually getting the signals we expected here, or are we going to need to move this device to ensure better connectivity?
What's fascinating about carrier diversity is what we typically call it within a single network endpoint, right? So with Cradlepoint, they've got a great platform. Some of their products, depending on how you maximize their products and kit them together as a bundle, actually enable 2 active pathways for 2 different carriers at one time. You could have Verizon in modem A, but you could have a secondary modem with AT&T and modem B, right? And so you could do a couple things there with your wireless circuit. You could do what we call active-active. Again, there's some good SD-WAN flavoring within the Cradlepoint. And you can say, okay, in a failover event, I need to load balance. I need to send certain traffic through modem A on Verizon and certain traffic on modem B. Well, you also get carrier redundancy in real time. Let's say you have a primary fixed wireless circuit. Verizon's your primary, AT&T's your backup. If Verizon goes out and they have a network outage, then AT&T's there carrying your network, right? And your mission critical traffic, keeping all your most important applications connected. To Jason's point, our NOC is monitoring your primary network, your carrier A, right? And what's amazing is that NetCloud Manager, the SD-WAN platform on the Cradlepoint, will actually show, based on the carrier SIM, if it's able to communicate with a tower at any given time. And so these guys are proactively monitoring that, right? Hey, says red, it's red. You get key visual indicators, color-based. It's red, it's red, it's red, exclamation point, can't connect, can't connect. And then we can get alerted. We can actually set up that real-time actionable alert that says, hey, Verizon restored, let's go back over there. And the Cradlepoint will do that automatically, actually. Our team is just there to ensure that it does do that automatically if there's some kind of guffaw or fail point there.
Absolutely. And Don, to your question, that's where that redundancy comes in for the second carrier, because you want to make sure that you have 2 separate carriers with 2 separate data lines coming in, whether that's a wireline circuit and a wireless circuit, whether it's multiple wireless circuits or whatever the situation may be. There is a need for redundancy and diversity in your circuits to ensure that you're able to maintain your connectivity no matter what's going on. So.
Absolutely. So let's talk about another use case here. So let's talk about a true POTS line replacement use case. So there's a lot of old dial-up lines is what I refer to them as, old copper lines. POTS stands for plain old telephony service lines. It's basically your OG telephone lines, your home phone line, the way we originally hooked up to the internet. There are still so many of those lines out there across America and the world today. And the problem right now is that the FCC is no longer requiring the wireline providers for those traditional copper analog lines to support them anymore. So what does that mean? That means for your elevator call boxes and your fire panels, and for your security panels, or for your utility meters, or for your emergency call boxes, all those applications that have been connected with the POTS line, they're in danger of being turned off right now, not having connection. So what do, right? What do you transition to?
So the places where they get to keep them,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just what do you transition to, but the places where they get to keep them, the price on those lines is skyrocketing without that mandate anymore, without that restriction. This necessary service that people have is going through the roof. You can't just drop that service, right? We had some retirement facilities that were utilizing these devices in a lot of the rooms where they needed an emergency phone line to dial 911, or in their elevators where they needed to be able to let someone know immediately if there was anything going on. And you can't just throw away the analog connection. The analog is there for a reason. And so what we do is we offer them a means to utilize that device without having to give up the connectivity or pay the outrageous fees that the carriers are using.
Right.
And so because we're utilizing that cellular circuit, that wireless circuit, and we're getting that live feed of data that tells us, hey, this is connected, this isn't connected, this is online, this isn't online, we're able to respond to those issues and reach out and say, look, we noticed that there's something going on in your environment, that your cellular health has changed. We'd like to see what we can do to assist you with getting this moved to a different location to ensure you maintain connectivity. Or it appears that your device is offline. Has there been a power issue? Can we assist you with that? We go through our troubleshooting steps. Hey, we're looking to see what could prevent connectivity in this situation. Is there a SIM issue? Is there an APN issue? Is there a device issue? We're going to work through that with you to ensure that wireless circuit that you're utilizing stays up and running or comes back online in case of an outage in a very short amount of time. So.
Absolutely. And so just to recap on what Jason said there, is that these POTS lines that are connected to some of your most mission critical apparatuses, applications, devices, your emergency phone lines and elevators or call boxes, your fire panels, your security panels, sometimes critical utility lines or junctions, right? All these critical applications, the POTS lines attached to them are either going away because your carrier is not going to support them anymore. The price is getting outrageous in ramp to go away. And what's for sure is the SLAs to go and repair, break, fix, it's deteriorating. It's getting worse, right? And so we provide POTS Link, a service to put your old wireline copper connection through a wireless backhaul, keep all your mission critical apps connected. And what Jason is saying is that our NOC provides real-time monitoring, real-time intelligence, carrier signal optimization, right? Protecting all these mission critical applications on a much more price stable, a higher SLA and guarantee platform than what you're going to be getting from your POTS lines, if POTS lines are even an option for you, depending on where you are right now. So again, these are systems where the local exchange carrier, their provider, traditionally provide no visibility at all. So if you had a down POTS lines for your elevator call box and the fire marshal came through and caught that, you'd get a citation or maybe even a hefty fine, and you'd get a notice where he was going to shut down your building if you didn't get that restored in time. We're giving you that visibility. You don't have to go audit your POTS lines anymore, which is manpower, truck roll, all the associated cost, risk, and liability behind that. Then, our last use case here, we just want to talk about fixed wireless access. I have the pleasure of working with a large car dealership group right now, and they've got a problem, right? They want backup fiber connections in about 100 locations of there. The issue right now is that the build out costs for fiber in all these locations exceed 6 figures in some cases. So it's a very expensive prospect. It's a 12 to 24 month construction period. Also, they have to trench up and tear up their car lot. And so there's some operational impact there local to the dealership, which can impact the efficiency of moving assets around, but also the customer experience on that lot. And so they've come to us and they go, we're skeptical about wireless WAN, but we know that it's available. We know that 5G has brought speeds to a point that are tenable, where we can actually rely on them with low latency. So can you help us? And we said, yes. So we're currently getting POCs kicked off with them. And what they're looking for here is a partner that provides an ecosystem, right? Same as what they would get from their wireline provider, but greater. Is what we aspire to. They want someone to come in and survey best carrier available, second best carrier available. They want us to canvass their location to make sure that we can install a cradle point device on the roof, get it dialed in to the great nearest available 5G tower to maximize throughput down into their network. They want us to identify if they need roof penetration to drop a Cat6 patch cable down to their network rack. They want turnkey installation. They want truck roll support, which we're providing. They want full device configuration and provisioning, so it ships turnkey for that installation. They want ongoing network operations center support because, again, they're expecting SLAs, and we're aspiring to provide even greater SLAs through our wireless NOC. Again, kind of gang busting that it has to be all wireline at one time. But on FWA specifically, Jason, I mean, what do you think their biggest concerns and how the NOC addresses them?
I think the novelty of it is a big thing for a lot of industries and a lot of businesses. They're unsure of what to expect, and what we want to offer them is an experience that says, not only are you going to get what you've come to expect from your circuit provider, but we're going to elevate your expectations moving forward. We want to make sure that you're getting not just a good experience, but the best experience possible. And so that's what we're doing for them. And the reason that matters is, again, because when there's that apprehension or there is that concern that you're not going to get the level of support you need, or you're not going to get the level of service that you've come to know and you've come to expect, you're apprehensive about switching from a system that is expensive or is difficult to maintain or has issues as far as like long lead times on repairs and things like that. And we're offering them that sort of peace of mind to say, hey, we've got this covered for you. So that not only can you go ahead and get that circuit, but you can trust that it's going to be maintained at the same standard or higher versus what you've come to expect from your wire circuit. So
absolutely. So let's drive home into our last topic today. I think there's a poll. You should be prompted at this point on the poll, and would love to see some answers flood in on our poll. So the poll question here: which part of 5G NOC are you most interested in? We've got proactive support, we've got 24/7 365 monitoring, we've got tiered plans, device maintenance support, or other, right? Specify that in the chat.
So while we're letting them answer, you ever remember back in the day whenever you would have an issue with one of your circuits and you would have to get support on site to take care of things, and then you'd call and you'd be told, we're going to be on site like 1 week later, 4 days later, 5 days later, between the hours of this and the hours of this. And it creates a lot of difficulty for you, because now you have to plan on being available during that time period to work on the circuit or to deal with whatever's going on. The great thing about having a NOC is that response is immediate. And if there's an issue, say with your device, you know what, maybe you had something go wrong with your device. We even offer a layer of support that says, hey, we're going to facilitate your RMA, or we're going to hot swap that RMA. We're going to get that device out to you, and you're going to send your device back to us, because we want to make sure your connectivity is priority number one in that instance. The idea that downtimes don't have to be as impactful as they used to be, it's just a huge thing, I think, for everybody operating a business. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we've got some answers in the chat there, a lot more flooding into our poll. So really great to see that. It looks like our front runner right now is the 24/7 365 monitoring. Proactive support is quickly rallying and gaining ground. And then tiered plans, solid 29. Responses, device maintenance support, 37 so far. So it's a nice spread right now. So guys, really appreciate you answering. Looks like about a third of our audience has participated, which is really, really great to see. So we want to go ahead and drive this home for you all. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to drive towards that next slide here. And we're just going to unpack all of the features that you get with our 5G Network Operations Center service. So Jason, why don't you kick us off here in terms of the key feature set that we're providing?
So proactive monitoring, we've got a team of individuals who are configuring alerts. They're configuring alerts for the data. They're configuring alerts for the devices. And what they're doing is they are monitoring those alerts. They're monitoring that real-time feed of data. And they are evaluating not just what the right response is, but sometimes whether a response is even necessary in that moment. We've had a bunch of storms roll through lately, and those storms create momentary hiccups in power. And so you have a device go offline and come right back online. Is there a need to be concerned for that? Is this something we have to be worried about? Or is this just an incident and not a true problem or not a true outage? And so this team is able to do that. This team is able to sort of watch these alerts and watch these issues and identify what that response needs to be so that the customer is not as concerned or not as worried about whether or not that hiccup that just happened is going to blow up into something big for them. Another thing about the proactive monitoring and support there, anybody who's worked in tech for any length of time has ever used any IoT devices or any sort of endpoints where you have a firmware that you need to manage or you need to update knows that there is a large percentage of those devices out there in the wild that are just not updated the way they need to be. One of the things that a NOC can do for you is make sure to manage those firmware updates and make sure that you are on that latest and greatest version of that firmware. Optimized connectivity, we deal with this from time to time with customers where they're not getting the kind of connectivity that they're expecting. And sometimes that's because the carriers made a change in their network. And now what was fantastic signal 3 months ago is not fantastic signal anymore. And there is maybe a need for a switch in carriers. And so they're going to say, hey, we've noticed a drop in connectivity. We're going to ask them to work with us to identify maybe the best location for that device. And if it's in that best location, we're going to look at the other circuits and say, hey, maybe we need to look at using this carrier or that carrier. Device maintenance, again, just going through and making sure that those firmwares are updated, that we're looking at devices that are connected the right way and those kinds of things. And then on-demand configuration. This one here is a fantastic service because the changes or the needs of a business and an organization can constantly change and evolve. And being able to say, hey, we want this device now to do this instead of that. We give the ability to do that through this service without having to essentially go back and gain those certifications yourself and do the research and figure out what it is that you need to do. Going back to that, taking a lean IT team and having to spin up a new service, or taking a mature IT team and saying, hey, we're going to have to redirect our resources to go learn to manage a thing. There's cost involved in that.
Right.
There's extensive cost in that. We're going to give you the ability to have to avoid those costs, to reduce that potential downtime from it by offering you configurations as a part of that service.
So again, all this is kind of designed to give you that true end-to-end connectivity, right? So whether end-to-end means just connecting those in applications where you can't get a wireline, or it's backup connectivity to your primary wireline, or whether it's an active situation where you're using both the wireline and the wireless, we're here to always make sure to optimize that wireless experience for you, truly give you that comfort, peace of mind end to end. A lot of what Jason is saying about the key features of our Network Operations Center kind of stab towards that, right? And so one last thing is that you can take your existing Cradlepoint devices today. Doesn't matter if you didn't purchase them from RCN. We want to help you manage your device. We want to help you squeeze every drop out of the proverbial orange, so to speak. So you can get your device onto one of our NOC plans today. That's absolutely within our realm of capabilities. Obviously, if you purchase your device from us, that is an option that we can get added, onboarded as we're working through that deployment process. I think we've got a couple other feature pieces here. So you can just see a couple things here on this tier list. We've got 3 different plans. We've got our Pro plan, our Plus plan, and our Basic plan. We believe that a lot of the meat potatoes sits in that Plus plan, right? Basics only scoring you tier 1 support, and then that less than 1 business day standard incident response time, less than 2 coverage hours, high impact incidents, a lot of other great stuff. But when you get into that NOC Plus, right, you're getting that tier 2 support. So you're getting into some of that heavy network config type troubleshooting and support. You get that device reconfiguration capabilities. Your SLAs go through the roof in terms of response time. And then you get an annual optimization meeting with our team as well to make sure that you are aware and apprised of all of the features that have come out for your wireless WAN device, like your Cradlepoint device in the past year, and all that other good stuff. Also, RMA warranty claim case management, which is a huge boon. When you step up to the Plus plan, we can hot stock hardware here for you. So if something breaks, you need something overnighted, it ships out pretty turnkey. And then device change management, right? Being your advisor, I believe, through an upgrade, through changing out to a new platform. So anything to add? I mean, it's a lot of information on one slide.
The last thing anybody wants to think about is the circuit itself.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing anybody wants to think about when they're going about doing their business and their work, even in an IT team, the last thing you want to think about is where's the internet coming from?
Right.
Like you want it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing,
right.
But it is a set it and forget it kind of thing for most people. And the great thing about this, especially when you step up to the Plus or you step up to the Pro plan, is that we're going to look at this once a year for you. And we're going to say, hey, here's what we're seeing on your usage. Here's what we're seeing on your utilization. Here's what we're seeing on your data, on your speeds, on everything else. Here's what we would like to recommend to you. And then give you a chance as the customer to say, here's what we're interested in that this isn't currently doing for us. And so by having those 12-month or 6-month check-ins, it's an expression of our intention to be able to say, we want this to be the best possible experience for you and for your business. And then you look at some of those other services there. Again, I go back to the fact that when you've got an overtaxed and an overworked IT team, you've got a lean IT team, or you've got an IT team that is very focused on what it is that they're doing. We're going to provide a lot of the options and a lot of the functions that your team's not going to be able to provide.
Right. Absolutely. So again, a lot of information on the slide, but an incredible amount of value, especially when you get into that Plus plan range with our wireless NOC. So let's take us to the home front here. So a couple of additional benefits and services that you can get wrapped around, in addition to our NOC, when you deploy your wireless WAN endpoints or your wireless WAN circuits with RCN. We've got a full field service and integration team. So anything from site surveys, making sure we know what carrier is best available, where the location of the tower is, if we need an antenna, what style of installation we need to do. We've got that team that can go handle that. We can do full-on SIM and device configuration from our provisioning center here at RCN HQ in Knoxville, Tennessee. Our head provisioning technician has capabilities to do hundreds of devices a day through a slick program that he's built out. We can go out and we can do device and SIM swapping. So if you're migrating carriers, but you're a multi-geo, multi-location enterprise or mid-market customer, even a small business, you just don't have the manpower to go and truck roll out to all your locations and change that SIM card in your current wireless WAN endpoint. We can do that. And of course, the install piece, which I've alluded to before, we can do all of that good stuff through our full service suite, field installation team, our provisioning team, and otherwise. Jason, anything to add there from additional benefits that they can get from us?
I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot to, like, you could talk about those things individually for a webinar, so I don't want to jump too much into these. But the great thing is when you go with a group who's already monitoring devices, who already is looking at circuits, who's already seeing those things, they're going to have the expertise to get you the right locations for these installs and get you the right setup. Right. And when you're dealing with a team who's monitoring configurations, who's monitoring provisionings, who's looking to see if this device is doing what it's supposed to be doing, they already have an understanding of what you're looking for in that. And so this team is really from provisioning to the installation, and then throughout its monitoring of its life cycle, focused on providing the best wireless circuit possible. Right. So.
And I think RCN as a whole, as kind of a closing comment here before we get to the Q&A, is that we truly believe in providing an ecosystem. When we kicked off this webinar, I said that we're 5G and LTE enablement experts or specialists, or whatever word you want to use there, right? And what I mean by an ecosystem, hopefully what we've conveyed here today, from a initial consultation and design perspective to a procurement perspective to a configuration, white glove service perspective to a deployment perspective in terms of installation, all the way to ongoing support with the star of the show today, the Network Operations Center. We're truly that end-to-end provider. We're truly providing a living, breathing ecosystem for you and your business because we care. We want to partner with you. We're convicted that there are a lot of results that can be established. There are pain points that can be resolved. There are frustrations that can be made to go away, right? With a lot of the solutions we're providing today, with that full ecosystem from wheels up, wheels down, especially with our Network Operations Center. So let's drive us home here, Jason, with our Q&A segment. I believe that's the next slide. Oh, too far. So real quick, free resources. You want to go to rcntechnologies.com/webinar. You can not only schedule an evaluation with our NOC team, right? Seeing what wireless endpoints you have today that might be eligible. You can download show notes. You can get access to on-demand webinars. If you want to go to YouTube and you want to go to RCN Technologies YouTube channel, just type in RCN Technologies. You will be able to find a copy of this webinar today that our marketing team will get posted fairly quickly. They're very good at that. A pop-up is also available to download right now from our webinar platform. It is a NOC solution brief. You can grab that. If you're one of our partners out there today from a wireless carrier or from Cradlepoint, you can download that. That is co-brandable for you. Feel free to pass that on to customers as a value add that one of your ecosystem partners can provide to that endpoint customer. Follow us on LinkedIn, obviously, for more updates. And there it is. There's the Q&A slide. So this is a good meat and potatoes part here. So audience today, if you have any questions for Jason and I while you have us, we're all ears. We want to answer your questions. We know there have been some good ones so far. So I think there's actually I'm noticing here, we've got a question section of the chat here. And so let's just go through a couple of these first. And I know our marketing team is feeding us some more questions through our Teams channel. But first, a gentleman named Joseph asked us, is our NOC, is it good for tracking assets? And
so on some of these, like some clarification would be beneficial. However, I will say, does continuity of service, connectivity help you with making sure that if you're trying to track your devices and what's going on with them? Well, absolutely. Being able to ensure that that connection is maintained is going to always be beneficial. But another great thing is, depending on the device that you choose and the licensing that you choose, even mobile routers, we're going to have the capacity to be able to tell you, hey, we're looking at your geo view here and we notice that your device is outside of where it's supposed to be at this intended time, or we're going to provide that sort of flexibility and that sort of option. So I'm not really sure what Joseph has in mind here, but I think anytime you can maintain connectivity is valuable for your asset tracking.
Well, absolutely. Through Cradlepoint's NetCloud, and Jason's spot on with the level of licensing you have with them, you can get a geo view, you can enable location services, you can get real-time active GPS for vehicle fleet applications. You can spin up real-time vehicle diagnostics, geofencing, even for just simply managing your assets, right? If you're a large enterprise with multiple backup internet routers across hundreds of locations, and you need to know in real time what device is that, what site is that at, what's the geo coordinates of that device, where was its last known location, you can tap in and you can see that, and our NOC can help extract that information for you and provide you that real-time intelligence that a lot of these endpoints are enabling for you to do. So
I think I answered several of these as we went through. I called them out because I thought they were really good questions in the moment. And what I'll try to do is, if I need to, try and come back and answer a few of these, because I think I'm going to want some clarification as exactly what is being looked at here. But I don't have a problem with that, because really good questions.
Let's see what the marketing team has fed us in our Teams channel here. So couple things here. Does NOC support JS coding?
So I think all these came from Justin. And so Justin, on these three, I'm going to have to get back with you and maybe ask some use case questions and what it is that you're looking to do. We want to make sure that we are adaptable, that we are flexible, and that we are able to sort of meet the needs and the expectations of our customers. So some of these questions sound like they would probably be a little bit better suited towards an actual conversation.
Yeah,
sort of,
absolutely.
And get it what it is that he's actually looking for here. So
yeah, and you can definitely engage us, right? There's an info@rcntechnologies.com down there that you can send an email to get set up with Jason, one of our NOC team members, or one of our sales team members for a consultation. We've got a very knowledgeable sales engineer as well that you can really go deep and talk tech with. So we can encourage that interaction. You can go to our webinar splash page, sign up for a consultation there. Lots of ways to get a hold of us, all the way to calling our main line, right? The phone still works. You can give us a call. I think somebody just asked in the chat how they can get access to the full recording. Just for reiteration's sake, there is a rcntechnologies.com/webinar that you can go to for show notes for the recording. You can also get that recording or rewatch this webinar on YouTube. That's RCN Technologies YouTube account. Just type in RCN Technologies. You'll find it in the search pretty quick. So think got one more question there. What is the guarantee of safety?
Again, I'm not exactly sure what the question is here, what it is that we're looking for. As far as like, are we looking for the guarantee of connectivity? Are we looking for assurances that this is going to be up and running? That's definitely something that we are concerned about. We are looking constantly to make sure that what we're doing is providing the maximum visibility to our customers of what's going on with their devices and with their circuit. So my team is reaching out via email. But in addition to that, one of the great things about what we're doing is we're offering this onboarding session where whenever we bring a customer in, we're not just hey, we're going to take care of this and be done with it. This is a partnership experience. We want to know that what our service is providing you is what you're looking for. So we're going to ask you about how you want to be communicated with. What matters to you? What is the most important thing for you to hear? And so we're looking to make sure that what we're doing is demonstrating to you as the customer, this is exactly what you need. And to get there, we need you to tell us what it is that you're looking for. Right. So,
one cool thing I had in our NOC catch, they are actually monitoring for intrusion to the network. And there are a couple of customers we have with our NOC today where they've notified in real time that there have been intrusion attempts. So if you're asking if it's safe from a security perspective, yeah, we're also monitoring for any kind of security events across that wireless WAN connection.
Failed login attempts on devices, actually identified a couple of different types of attacks on these devices. So it's been it's been amazing just to see customer responses to some of this as well, because they're very, very thankful to know that somebody else is out there with them watching for these sort of things and helping them to monitor what's going on. So,
all right, well, guys, we are over budget today. And about 3 minutes. We're so glad that you guys lasted the long haul with us today for our 5G and coffee 5G NOC conversation. Again, you can go to rcntechnologies.com/webinar to get show notes and the recording. You can go to YouTube in a couple days and go to RCN Technologies YouTube channel, rewatch it there. Remember, you can call us, you can email at info@rcntechnologies.com to speak with somebody and learn more, go more in depth and see how NOC could benefit your business. And you could go to our website and, of course, submit a form for a consultation. So, team, really appreciate the engagement today, really appreciate the questions today. This has been a wonderful chat. Jason, thank you for being a great co-host.
Thank you, Reed. And I'm going to say this is probably the best webinar. I don't really feel like it's an audience, it's a conversation. It's been the best webinar conversation I've got to be a part of since I've been here. So thanks everyone for tuning in and being a part of this. We really appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.